Alright guys, what is up? It's Rob, and I'm doing the Monday nightly watch list, giving you all the news that you need to know of what moved the market, what to pay attention to for tomorrow, the next week, and giving you guys some good plays and how to make money in the market. So, first thing today was the market opened absolutely green and was ripping. I mean, if you looked at the futures market this morning, it was a green shoot. And that was because of positive China news, right, that came over the weekend with President Trump in China, and also optimism related to the Fed rate cut this Wednesday. And then we also had a huge intraday move and a great trade opportunity tied to Qualcomm, because they came out and said that they would be releasing their own AI chip. So those are the big, reasons why the market moved today, and we're going to get into the news. So first thing I have for you, China and the U.S. reached preliminary, trade agreements or consensus ahead of the Trump and President Xi Thursday meeting. So basically what happened was you had some members of the Trump administration and China get together, and they came up with a draft agreement, things to discuss, things they agreed upon, before President Trump and President Xi get together. And the market really loved this because we actually got news that more than likely, the tariffs that President Trump said that he would, implement on China earlier this month would more than likely not go into effect. So that was big news that came out over the weekend and caused the market to open green. And then the Federal Reserve is actually expected to make an interest rate decision this week, with the market pricing that the Federal Reserve will cut short-term rates by 25 basis points, which is also 0.25%. So the range will go from 3.75% to 4%. So the Federal Reserve can implement, it's called the federal funds rate, and they dictate, the rate that banks can loan money to each other overnight. And then, obviously long-term rates are based on the short-term rates, so it goes from there. So this week, right, on Wednesday, the Federal Reserve is expected to cut short-term interest rates, the federal funds rate, by 0.25%. So be on the lookout for that, and then also listen to Powell's speech, because he's going to be given indicators into the state of the economy, right, and also, right, what the Fed expects to, see going forward. Like, will we get a Fed rate cut in December, which the market is currently pricing in a 0.25 percentage point cut, and then also any news or information onto future rate cuts into 2026. So be on the watch for that interest rate, cut to come out the headline, Powell's speech, and then you can also look at this sheet called the Summary of Economic Projections, the SEP, the Federal Reserve dot plot. And basically what it shows you is all the Fed members' expectations of rate cuts and where they see the economy. So that's how you get a forecast of Federal Reserve rate cuts and interest rates going into the future. So, all right, big thing this week, right? Fed rate cut, and then you also have the Trump and China meeting, which is going to move markets, and you had a big move going into the open. And intraday, all right, huge opportunity to make money, getting the news quick, which we do, right, and making trades on it. Well, Qualcomm actually came out and announced an AI chip to compete with AI and Nvidia, which actually sent the stock up 20% intraday. These options went absolutely crazy. We got the news in the first minute of it coming out, right, at 10:01 a.m. We got in, right, on these options, the 185 calls, when the stock popped off of 175. Now, Qualcomm went all the way up to over $200 intraday, and we got the news at $175. So those options, we made 2,000%, okay? every $100 turned into $2,000 based on that Qualcomm options play. And that's the type of returns you can get when you watch the news, you're the first to it, and you're quick in the options chain. So, right, a beautiful opportunity that we were blessed with today that we got to take advantage of. And then we also have Apple earnings on Thursday. So not only are you going to get the Trump and China meeting, but at the same time we're getting Apple earnings. So I do have the estimates for you guys right now. And the EPS estimate is $1.44. The revenue estimate is $94 billion for the quarter. The implied move on Apple stock, the options chain is expecting to move up or down of 4%. So the current price, right, $265. With that 4% move, we could see the stock going from $254 to $276. Now that is the expected move, right? The Apple stock could always move up more or down, but if it doesn't, then all those option premiums will get burned because the implied volatility on those options will get crushed, which means, right, like I always tell you guys, I like to trade after the earnings report is released. So say if Apple had a great earnings report, but it opens up, right, not up or down 4%, maybe let's just call it flat, all those options will get crushed, and then you actually have an opportunity to come into the options chain and actually get the move following the market open. So I love those plays. They have been actually hidden recently with Intel and Pepsi and American Express. Killer moves we made on those after the earnings report, so keep your eyes peeled out for that. Also, gold I wanted to talk about. It actually fell below $4,000 an ounce, and that is because of a lot of profit taken, right, on gold. But a headline did come out today I want to share with you guys now, where global central banks will soon hold more gold than US dollars. And I do have a chart I can share with you guys about it. But basically, as I've been telling you guys on the watch list, the trade behind gold, well, it's a safe haven asset. There's been a lot of volatility going on, but not only that, there is the debasement trade, as they call it, where basically, rather than foreign countries holding US dollars, they've been selling that off and buying gold because, well, if you look at the dollar, right, it's actually been weakening, right, losing value because of inflation and, how much money the U.S. government prints and, right, all that since the pandemic. So, right, as more dollars into the system, the dollar gets weaker. Well, if you're holding dollars, well, if the dollar's weakening, it's losing value, so you lose value, aka, right, that's why central bankers are owning gold and among other reasons. But, right, we did see a crazy move up into gold. Everybody, all the banks calling for a $5,000 ounce forecast. You saw a huge move in silver, but recently those commodities, silver and gold, have been taking a hit. So, like I've been telling you guys, take an eye out there because lots of volatility, which means opportunity. Next thing I have for you is the White House, okay? Yesterday, over the weekend, they posted a picture saying, "Power to the players," quoting GameStop. GameStop had a tweet where they declared that the quote-unquote console wars were over, and the White House retweeted it, so it sent the stock up over 7.5%. Now, why do I tell you that? Well, because we just saw Beyond Meat, right, go up absolutely crazy from like 50 cents all the way up to like $9, right, if you want to take into account aftermarket action. And what I wanted you to be aware of, right, with the market, as I've been telling everyone, is bubbly, there's a lot of hype, right? Well, you're now seeing like meme stocks reappear. So Beyond Meat went crazy. Well, now maybe people want to target GameStop again. So, not that I'm saying, I think that this is a great thing to look out for, right, or a good play, but I do think, okay, well, here you go. You just had the White House retweet something. Maybe it could start a momentum frenzy. So keep your eyes on GameStop right now. Also, Lululemon. Okay, they are partnering with the NFL to launch an apparel collection for all 32 NFL teams. So Lululemon was up over 5% pre-market on this, but actually sold off all of their gains. So maybe there's a possibility here for actual play, like a run-up on the name, if they want to recirculate this news, or, maybe possibly this could be, a good revenue source for the company. And I'll bring this to your guys' attention because Lululemon has sold off significantly, okay? And, right, here's some news that could, cause a move up on the stock. So, take a look at Lululemon's chart, and you'll see exactly why, I think there could be a lot of movement up for the stock, especially with this news. Also, U.S. soybeans, okay? They were up over 2% as U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent came out and said, right, news with China was that China, they're going to discuss substantial Chinese soybean buys. So China, one of the topics they're going to be talking about is China buying soybeans from U.S. farmers because they previously stopped all purchases. So what you could look at, right, there is a soybean ETF that tracks soybean futures, and their ticker symbol is SOYB. QCOM, right, is the company, and they have the soybean futures ETF. And, right, like I've been telling you guys before, right, you see a lot of the critical mineral stocks going crazy because China stopped their exports for critical minerals and stopped buying U.S. soybeans. So here you are, right? Just gave you the ticker symbol for this. You could see a lot of action, right? So keep your eyes on SOYB. Also, Argentina just had their midterm elections, and right, it was a big win, right, for Milei, right? And I bring this up to you guys because him and Trump had a meeting, and Trump and Argentina, agreed on rare earth exports. But with his win, I mean, you saw the Argentinian stock market go up 20%, and the bonds went up absolutely crazy, right? After his win, people are, basically speculating on economic stability back in Argentina, so the money flooded into their bonds and their stock market. So take a look out here, do some research, look at Argentina plays, see what's out there for that. And then I also have for you Keurig Dr. Pepper. They were up over 11% pre-market because they beat their Q3 earnings, right, EPS revenue, and had a good conference call and guidance with management. And I bring this up because we own Pepsi in the long term, and you're just seeing, right, good earnings out of Coca-Cola, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and Pepsi. So consumer demand is still going strong in the snacks category, and we had an awesome buy in the long term on Pepsi. Right, we got it at $128, and we're getting a 4% dividend yield every year just from owning that. Shout out the long-term portfolio, right? Buy great names that are quality at multi-year lows. Shout out the long-term portfolio. Next thing I have for you here is fund managers now hold the lowest cash allocation in more than a decade. Okay, so that tells you there is risk on what, we have known about AI bubble. I've been telling you, see AI going absolutely crazy, right? You just saw Qualcomm get a 20% intraday run, okay, on news that they're going to be coming out with a chip, AI chip. Then, like I was telling you guys, watch out for the nuclear names, right? Because that AI data centers are using a lot of energy, electricity. So people are looking at nuclear. So also quantum, okay? Quantum names have been going absolutely crazy, a lot of volatility. Right, you've been getting reports the U.S. government's going to take a stake in quantum companies. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Lots of back and forth creating volatility. You're seeing big investor Martin Shkreli get involved in the action, right, putting his viewpoints out there on certain companies. So some of those names are moving big, creates opportunity. So guys, also Whirlpool. Now they are going to be reported earnings after the bell here today. So it actually should be coming out any minute right about now. And that is a long-term candidate name we have. I mean, they do pay a really strong dividend, and I like the company. I mean, it's at multi-year lows, and it's an appliance company, Whirlpool. I mean, stoves, microwaves, you name it. And, right, it's definitely a name that's going to be here, right, 5 to 10 years. I don't foresee Whirlpool subtly going anywhere. And, it's tied to the real estate market, pseudo real estate investment, right? As the real estate market goes up, lots of buildings, you need more appliances as more real estate's developed and people buy homes. So it's a great company, and they've earned after the bell, which could present a good long-term portfolio investment. So guys, that's everything I have you for the Monday nightly watch list. Okay, use the news to your advantage. I'm always getting you guys the news the fastest in the world. Okay, I'm telling you every night, watch the watch list, stay locked in, make money, and as always, right, make money in the short term with the trades, make money in the long term. Okay, and stay calm out there, control your emotions, stay locked in, and let's go, baby. Peace.